So each year we host the Trek 100. It's a very special day for us. We invite 2,500 of our friends to come and ride. And each year I ask of all of our employees, please, please, please spread the word about the ride and bring friends. And you've done just that. Tell me about your friends and who's riding with us tomorrow.
Right. So Black Girls Do Bike decided to join Trek at the Trek 100 this year. And we invited all of our friends, of which we have a few thousand. But we convinced about 125 to 150 ladies to come from all over. So far, we have about 15 cities represented. And they've flown in, and I took the train in, and some of them drove in, and they're going to ride the ride and enjoy the weekend.
Wow, we're very excited to have you here.
Yeah.
Now, before we talk about the program and how you got started, I'm also curious, you're going to take advantage of being in Wisconsin and stay for a meetup. Is that in Milwaukee?
Yes. So we said the Trek 100 will be the center point of our weekend, but we wanted to create some programming around it. So today we're here at Trek headquarters taking tours and learning about the history of Trek. And then on Sunday, we're going to we have something else this evening. We have leaders in our program called Sheroes. So we're going to bring all the Sheroes that have made the trip together for dinner tonight. And they're going to get some special prizes to say thank you for everything they do. And then Sunday, we're going to have a recovery ride to kind of, recover from the Trek 100. Nothing too intense, probably 8 to 12 miles. And then we'll finish off with a luncheon/party, have a DJ and good food. And it's going to be at the Milwaukee Brewery. So we'll have some libations as well.
Very nice. Your full Wisconsin experience.
That's right.
I love it. Well, we're so glad you're here. So we want to go back and understand a bit about your background, but also what inspired you to start the organization.
Right. So as the story goes, 2013, I started to feel the need to get back on the bike for various reasons, mainly health reasons and mental health reasons, to just kind of find a new direction. And the bike seemed like a logical place to do that. So I started to ride a lot. I started to ride with my kids, and at the time they were probably 4 and 10. And so we spent the summer riding together, and I quickly realized that there weren't many women who looked like me on bikes. And I thought there should be. And I said, well, I'll take to the internet, just like anyone does when they want to find something, and find these women who share this, love of cycling. But unfortunately, I didn't find too many. So we started a Facebook page, Black Girls Do Bike, and ultimately a website. And quickly, these women came out of the woodwork, and it seems like each city has a bunch of women who are passionate about cycling. And so Black Girls Do Bike was a way for them to connect online. And eventually, they started to ask for local rides associated with Black Girls Do Bike. And then we started to create chapters. And now we're up to, I think, 85 chapters across the U.S.
Now, 85 chapters, and that's across many different locations.
Yeah. Awesome. So we're pretty much in every major city, but we have an Anchorage, Alaska chapter. They started last year. We have an Antigua chapter in the Caribbean, so we're expanding. But yeah, we're everywhere. It seems like it, at least.
So what do members enjoy? What do you do for them to help them learn, to help them feel comfortable? Tell me about that.
So the Shero is supposed to be kind of the ambassador who helps ladies who aren't riding to discover riding. And then she also is in charge of leading rides, so she's helping the beginners as well as the advanced riders. But in my mind, it's to kind of break down the barriers that are preventing, women who aren't riding to get into cycling. And then once we usher you into cycling, then you can find your niche, and you may be a racer, you may be a cyclocross, you may be a mountain biker. You discover that along the journey. But we want to give you some sort of entry point to the cycling community if you're not already involved.
Tell me more about the online community. What role does that play in not only spreading the word, but bringing more people in and perhaps answering their questions?
Yeah, so each city that we are in has a Facebook group dedicated. And that dedicated group is a place where ladies can come and organize rides. So they can say, hey, I'm off work at 5. Does anybody want to ride with me? or I'll be riding this Sunday, is anybody free? And I like it because women can organize based on skill level, so you can find other riders, so you don't get left behind, which can be intimidating when you're new. But so the online community is for that, for organizing, but it's also for skill sharing, or advice. I want to buy a bike. What do you recommend? How important is a bike fit? I need a new seat. What do you recommend? So those kind of conversations happen as well. And I think that's probably the best part, because people become better cyclists. They learn in the groups.
So you talked about riding with your own children.
Mm-hmm.
How does the organization embrace that and perhaps help bring in a new generation of cyclists?
Yeah. So I think it's important that mothers mirror that behavior to their kids. So I think cycling can be an integral part in family life. So my ideal in my head, when we do go for rides, I fully expect mothers to show up with their kids, and as long as they have supervision, the young ones are welcome to ride with us too. Even the young boys, young girls, it doesn't matter. So I think that's a big part of it, and getting families involved.
So you talked about some of the barriers or some of the obstacles that people raise, perhaps preventing them or stopping them from riding or riding more.
Right.
What are the ones you hear the most from people, and how do you offer a solution to those?
The most, I think it really comes down to inexperience, or not knowing what to expect, or thinking that they don't have the skill set to ride, or thinking that 1 mile is not as important as a 10-mile ride. And when you're just starting out, that 1 mile is a powerful mile, and you have to start somewhere. It could even be less than a mile. But that's the goal, is to show people that whatever you can do. Because in my mind, if you can turn the pedals, you're a cyclist. It doesn't matter. You don't have to do the Tour de France tomorrow. But if you can get on the bike and you enjoy it, then that qualifies you to be out there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So often when people are new, they need to find that guide, the person who can offer the experience and bring them along. And as you just said, 1 mile is the very important mile. That's awesome. That's awesome.
For sure.
Tell me more about Sheroes. I love that term, by the way. And how does one apply or become qualified or get into that club?
Yeah. So the Sheroes are volunteers, which is probably the most beautiful part of it all. But they range from novice riders to very experienced riders. Generally, the common thread with our Sheroes is the enthusiasm for riding and for sharing that experience with other women and encouraging other women to ride. So as long as they have that, we can pretty much teach them everything else they need to know. But we have Sheroes who are certified ride instructors, very qualified to lead rides. We have others who are just completely obsessed with cycling because they just discovered it and they're like, this is the greatest thing ever, and I want everyone to know about it. So they quickly proselytize about cycling to everyone they meet. But the role is you have to be able to engage on social media, because we're really heavily on social media to move the movement forward. They also have to be, we have a private Shero page on Facebook, so all the Sheroes are together in a group, which I found to be very powerful, because iron sharpens iron, so they become better by engaging with other women who share that passion. It's a very, very passionate group, but they get a lot done, a lot accomplished, and they kind of help me keep a pulse on what's going on the ground in the organization in the U.S.
So what message do you have to current cyclists of ways they could invite more people in and encourage and invite more people to ride?
I would say the most important thing would be to meet those people where they are, whether it be the community they're in or at the skill level that they're coming in at. That's the most important thing. If you find a way to not make cycling intimidating, then people will jump on board. And I always say I'm selling a good time, because that's what cycling is, right? I just have to get you there so that you can enjoy it. Once you enjoy it, then you'll be hooked. So I just want you to try it.
If people want to learn more about the organization or how they can participate, what's the best way for them to do that?
I'd say the very best way is to go to our website, which is blackgirlsdobike.com. It's a bit long. Apologies for that. And then through our website, you can find a list of all of our chapters. You can find pictures that people have submitted to just show them riding. We sell cycling gear, so you can certainly link to that and take a look at it and certainly purchase it. But I think the best way is to find a chapter that's local to you and reach out to them and offer time or expertise or whatever it is that you think would be helpful, because that will help us get better and that will help expand our message to other people. So tell the world.
You have an amazing story, just not that many years into it. Paint a picture for us of 5 years from now. What's your dream and perhaps goal for the organization?
I think we want to be a little bit more heavily involved in advocacy. So I think we're creating lady leaders who will take their love for cycling into doors that will allow them to influence decisions on things like bike lanes and infrastructure and politics and things like that. So hopefully we're creating an army of women who are going to make a difference in the next 5 years. And I'd also like to focus on education, whether it be like educating children on properly how to ride bikes in traffic and, in a safe way so that they become better cyclists as adults. And also to have our Sheroes all be in some way certified ride instructors so that they can have that skill set. And that makes them educators. So that would be the goal.
So if I had the opportunity to bring your kids to the studio and I asked them to tell me about mom,
yeah,
what would they say?
Bike related?
Sure.
They would say I love cycling, and I love meeting other people who love cycling. And I think cycling is one of their favorite things to do, honestly. So I spend a lot of time with them on the bike, and if you ask them about it, I think they would agree it was like the most fun thing that we do together.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll ask them though.
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll
Go
follow
for it.
up on that one. I think
Go for
that
it.
might be good. On the other stuff too that they would say.
Right.
That's awesome. What have we not talked about? What would you like to share with people listening about your organization, how they can help? What else do you want to add?
Yeah, I think I sometimes the name Black Girls Do Bike can put folks off, but I think if you look below the name and you kind of look at our purpose and the movement and what we're trying to do, we're trying to take a population that is underserved and give them a voice and give them the tools they need to engage. And I think that, and we're not exclusive. We do let people of all races ride with us. We try to keep the rides women only, but occasionally we'll take those constraints off and allow the fellas to ride with us. So we're not trying to keep anyone out. We want to have a clearly defined way for people who aren't cycling to begin cycling. We want to be the catalyst for that. So the mission is clear, and that's why the name has to be Black Girls Do Bike, because we want to have those people recognize, hey, we're here for you, and we want to give you that opportunity that you may not have.
When people are new to cycling, there are all kinds of barriers to overcome. There's special language, there's jargon, there's, as you said, maybe people that don't look like you, there's funny clothing. How do you address those, and perhaps what are the unique barriers or obstacles you hear?
Right. So for our demographic, I think a couple of things. I didn't grow up with a mom who rode a bike, for instance, right? Or any really female relatives that rode bikes. So it wasn't something that I thought I should be doing just because it wasn't modeled to me. So I think that's true for a lot of people, a lot of women, a lot of Black women. We don't have those role models, for lack of a better word, in our community who are showing us cycling as something we can do. Beyond that, you have we talk about hair. All right, so a lot of Black women have natural hair. It can vary in size, and sometimes simply finding a helmet that will fit is a problem. And so that can discourage you, if you don't have someone who can say, hey, that's not a big issue. We found a way around that. And then I'm a mother, so my children are a priority. And sometimes when your children or your family or work or career are priorities, you don't always find time for yourself as a priority. Now, we all know better. We know that taking care of ourselves makes us better caretakers for the people and things that we care about. But it doesn't always work that way. So life can get in the way. So you have that, and then ultimately probably you have the same thing everyone else has, which is, this is a new activity. I don't know where to start. I don't know, what kind of bike I need. I don't know, do I have to ride in those tight clothes that I see everybody on the on the road wearing? So those questions need answers, and for some people, they'd rather be hands off until they have someone answer those questions for them.
Tell me about your favorite place to ride.
I'm a trail rider, I would say, if I had to categorize myself. So, and there's a trail that's fairly close to my home, and that's where you'll find me most times. You'll find me there with the kids, but you'll also find me on days when I had a rough day at work and I just need to clear my head. I'll throw the bike on the hitch and head down there and just, kill some time, and then park and watch the sunset. So, but that's my favorite thing to do, ride the trails. And my goal is to do the Gap Trail from DC to Pittsburgh before the year's over. We'll see how that goes.
Learning a new skill as an adult brings many challenges, and certainly learning to ride a bike as an adult can bring some specific ones. Any good stories to share with us?
Not me personally, but I have a dear friend who... Well, let me backtrack a little bit. So I assumed everyone rode a bike as a child because I didn't. Every summer I was on my bike, and that was pretty much 3 months of bliss for me. But I learned, I have a friend who, she said, "Hey, can you help me learn how to ride a bike?" And I'm like, "Well, didn't you learn as a child?" And she's like, "No." So I took her to a bike shop, and I was determined to help her ride. What I didn't realize or know at the time was she has a mild, constant case of vertigo. So that was probably why she never learned to ride, or why she wasn't successful when she tried. So we spent a hot afternoon, attempting to teach her how to ride a bike. And the bike shop was very gracious, and they gave us several different bikes to try. We tried a trike, which I think was probably the best option. And so she worked on balance. And by the end of the afternoon, I will say she was riding. I would consider her a cyclist now. But it was it was eye-opening for me because I always assumed that everyone started at the same place. And I realized that everyone doesn't. And so the help that you offer is going to be different for each rider. But because she was a friend, I was determined to have her be successful, of course, so that she could ride with me ultimately. And it had a happy ending, but that was a life lesson, a bike life lesson, I should say.
We talked about, in more recent years, your own return to cycling. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about your early experiences with cycling.
I was an active child. Like I said, cycling was my mode of transportation. It was my best option for freedom because we lived in a neighborhood where probably wasn't the best neighborhood, but my parents were at least okay with us riding within like a 3 to 5 block radius of our house. So that was freedom to us. We also had, though we were in a city, we had a huge forest behind our house, full of wildlife. And so our bikes became mountain bikes sometimes, right? We would go up in the woods and get in trouble and find salamanders and other things we probably shouldn't have been touching. But back to bikes. So the bikes were my connection to freedom, very, very first connection to freedom as a child. And then I rode as a teenager off and on. At some point, I worked at downtown Pittsburgh, and I decided commuting would be a good way for me to relieve stress and enjoy the bike. So I did that for a while. But cycling kind of came in and out of my life for many years. But I always knew that I enjoyed it. I knew it was a great way for me to clear my head. And I knew that if I could keep doing it, that physically I would have some good results as well. So in the back of my mind, it was always something I wanted to keep incorporating in my life. And in 2013, it became a savior almost for me. And the fact that I'm sitting here now is because I picked up a bike in 2013. So I'm very grateful for that.
When you think back on your experiences before starting the organization, is there one particular experience or skill that has really served you well now?
Before starting the organization, in terms of cycling or just
or
in
just
general?
Life skill or organizational skill that you picked up along the way?
Yeah. I have they always say, what's your superpower? And I say my superpower is the ability to take chaos and bring it to a calm state, because I'm generally a calm person. So in running an organization that I 5 years ago I didn't know I would be taking care of, I found the need to take a lot of chaotic situations and bring them to a calm state. And so that's helped me, that served me very well. I also enjoy design and photography. So I've been able to use those skills in kind of marketing Black Girls Do Bike and making it palatable and presentable to organizations and to people who can help us move the movement along. So I'd say those are the two skills that I've used the most.
Tell me what you're most proud of today.
I'm most proud of making change in people's lives, because that was not the intention, but it's been the ultimate byproduct of what we do. And I don't always see it because I'm in Pittsburgh and I'm pumping out, information via our social media, and I don't always get the feedback. But when I come to events like this, like our national meetup, it's like almost everyone I meet has a story, right? And they're like, oh, I'm cycling because of Black Girls Do Bike, which still blows my mind, because it's hard for me to really fathom that a decision I made 5 years ago has affected someone's life. And they always say, oh, thank you for creating Black Girls Do Bike. And I'm like, well, I had the idea, but there is no Black Girls Do Bike without all these people who are getting on their bikes and organizing and, having these beautiful smiling faces and making cycling appealing to their daughters and their mothers and their aunts. So that's what I'm most proud of, that people are doing things they would not have done if the organization didn't exist.
Well, I want to thank you for spending time with us today, for bringing yourself, your superpowers, your friends, and your Sheroes. We're very happy to have you here, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your time in Wisconsin.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.